podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Spanning the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is Subject Cinema's Avengers Endgame MCU Countdown.
How do we start talking about worthiness? I mean, we won't actually see the scenes about how worthy you are to actually pick up this giant hammer until we get to Age of Ultron.
I know. Well,
but it's like, okay.
we know about the fact that you have to be worthy to pick up Mjolnir because we saw that in the Avengers.
Yeah.
We also saw it when Thor was introduced in the movie Thor.
Right.
And there's also just the fact of the whole worthy stuff, which we both know for a fact, you and I both are definitely not.
Yes. Welcome to Subject Cinema's Avengers Endgame MCU Countdown. I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
This is episode 8. Is April 12th, 2019, as we grow closer and closer to the release of Avengers Endgame, which is now tracking ticket sales at 5 times the pace of Infinity War, which is giving me definitely goosebumps because I really do think it's going to be the first film to earn in America over 300 million. We'll see what happens. We are doing Thor, The Dark World today.
Yes.
This is considered by many fans and many critics the worst of the MCU films. I personally don't feel that way. We have one coming up later that I really just can't stand.
Yep.
And everybody else loves.
Yep.
But I'm like, I don't know. Chris Hemsworth was very comfortable in this role
Definitely.
by this point. So was Tom Hiddleston. And Natalie Portman, not so much.
No.
She did not enjoy this movie. And
neither did Christopher Eccleston, who plays Malekith, the leader of the Dark Elves in this film, who are the main bad guys. And when I say Dark Elves, I don't mean like Drow. I mean, these are like...
D&D.
These are actually probably worse than Drow.
Yeah.
And Drow are pretty bad as it is, Drizzt notwithstanding.
It is a little confusing in places, but...
It's not as confusing as other films. I'm sorry. I really don't think it's as confusing as other people seem to think it is.
All right.
I got the storyline.
Let's get into it. We have the usual suspects here. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Anthony Hopkins back as Odin. I'm sorry, who played the mother?
Renee Russo. And,
of course, Natalie Portman as Jane and
Kat Dennings
as Darcy.
Yay.
And Christopher Eccleston. And we will go back here to Subject Cinema number 417, first aired on November 10th, 2013. This is Thor, The Dark World.
Some believe that before the universe, there was nothing. They're wrong.
All right. You've been waiting with bated breath. He's back, the long-haired twit from Asgard. And he is back in a big way, still pining for Jane after the events in New York, and she's not real happy he didn't stop by to say hi. No. There's all kinds of bigger and better things going on in our first experience with the new Dolby Atmos 3D experience, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. This is Thor, The Dark World. Give us the rundown.
Before there was light, there was the darkness. And when there is darkness, there is things that live in the darkness. Scary things.
nasty things.
Things that go bump in the night?
If they only went bump in the night, you'd be pretty friggin' lucky. No, these things tend to go boom, rip, tear, rape, pillage, destroy. These things, at least in this universe, are the Dark Elves, led by their evil leader Malekith. The Dark Elves fought a war against the Asgardians, trying to keep them from bringing their eternal darkness to the universe eons and eons ago, when Bor, the father of the god Odin, fought Malekith and defeated him, and defeated Malekith's weapon, a powerful, evil, malevolent energy known as the Aether. Malekith was defeated, not destroyed, just defeated, and the Aether was sealed far away from where anybody would ever find it, ever again, until they do. Now we're at now. And now is 2 years after the events in New York that we saw in the Avengers film. And we're in Asgard, where Loki is going to be imprisoned for his events on Earth, leading the Chitauri invasion, and which actually wound up forming the Avengers, one of which members is his brother Thor.
But he's not really his brother.
He's not really. He's his adopted brother. Somebody's got friggin' daddy issues. Go call Dr. Phil.
Loki and Dr. Phil. That'd be scary. Anyway.
That'd be the shortest Dr. Phil in history. Anyway. Thor and his other battle companions, the Warriors 3, and including the beautiful warrior Sif, are on Vanaheim, which is the home of one of the Warriors 3, Hogun. They've been fighting for the last 2 years, fighting throughout the 9 realms, trying to fix the damage that was done after the destruction of Bifrost, which is the rainbow bridge that connects the realms, which was destroyed in all of the bad stuff that happened back in the earlier films. Meanwhile, on Earth, astrophysicist Jane Foster is trying to kind of piece her life together. She's actually on an actual sort of could be considered, if you squint, date, which gets interrupted by her intern Darcy, who has an intern of her own named Ian, who is getting in way over his head. Darcy manages to break up this alleged date because of some strange readings in another part of London. These readings wind up drawing Jane into an entirely chaotic situation, winds up bringing about the return of Thor, and also winds up bringing about the attention of the not destroyed Malekith and his army of Dark Elves.
With Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Anthony Hopkins as Odin, Christopher Eccleston as Malekith, under a ton of makeup, Jamie Alexander as Sif, Zachary Levi as Fandral, Ray Stevenson as Volstagg, Tadinabu Asano as Hogan, Idris Elba as Heimdall, Rene Russo as Frigga, Adewale Akinyoye Ajabe, I almost got it, as Algrim, Kat Dennings as Darcy, Stellan Skarsgård as Eric, Alice Krieg as Air, Clive Russell as Tyr, Jonathan Howard as Ian, and also several other people in the cast. What did you think?
This just goes to show, again, why Marvel makes the best superhero movies. I thought this was a great ride. It was fun. It was exciting. It had some really funny parts, but it also had some very poignant scenes. It also had Chris Hemsworth shirtless in a towel. 3 words. Thank you, movie. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I thought it was great and just a lot of fun. It continued.
What was great about it? What was great about it? What was great?
Did you miss the Chris Hemsworth shirtless part?
Besides that, what else did you think was great about the film?
I thought that it carried on the story really well. It carried on the Marvel Universe story. It brought up. It didn't just start off with cold stuff. It was dealing with the things that happened in the other films, carrying forward, continuing the storyline, which I thought was great. and bringing in whole new elements, this whole thing with the dark elves and all that stuff like that. I thought it was fantastic. And there is one cameo that will make you laugh out loud. I loved it. I didn't see it coming. We're not going to tell you what it is. It was great. I thought everybody was fantastic. Nobody felt out of place. Nobody felt like, what are they doing in this movie? The cast was seamless. The tension between Thor and Loki is really, really good. I just thought it was fantastic. It was what a superhero movie should be. Mm-hmm. What about you?
I did not get nearly as well as you did. It was a good film. It was fun.
Surprise.
Well, no, why? Why do you say that?
Well, no reason. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm just curious.
Because I tend to get overexcited about superhero stuff, and you tend to be a little bit more low key. See what I did there? Unless it's a Flash,
yeah.
But anyway.
Anyway, it was good. It was a good film, but it wasn't a great film. The first four was way better than this one.
You think?
Yes, and this one is too low key for the first hour of the film. There's really not that much going on. I also took umbrage to the choice of who. Let's see. Let me go back here. I've not remembered. Alan Taylor, the director, his choice for editing in some places drove me up the wall. Right in the middle of all these really interesting sequences, suddenly we're back in London with Darcy and Ian and what's his name, the doctor? Eric.
Who may or may not have pants on.
And then it would switch right back to where it was. And I'm like, why was that necessary? You're ruining the flow of the film. If you want to do this, that's fine, but find a logical place for it, because I thought it popped up in the worst, most illogical places I've ever seen. They like this big battle, and then suddenly Darcy's like fighting with something to get somebody to answer her phone or whatever. I didn't like that aspect of it. I also thought the story was way darker than any of the other superhero films so far. They've had bad battles, but nothing this dark. We got several major deaths. We got all kinds of other things going on, and while the special effects remain incredible and the cast is very good,
wouldn't you consider the deaths in the Avengers in New York? I mean, we didn't see them all, but that had to be catastrophic casualties.
I'm not talking about regular side casualties. I'm talking about main characters.
Oh, okay. All right.
And Coulson's still alive. Anyway, the watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Gosh darn it, now you went and just,
Yeah, so anyway, there are a couple of major deaths in this. There are, I'm not saying it's a bad film by any shape of the imagination. I look forward to seeing it again on DVD and enjoy it. Kat Dennings, who I love and everything else, is so annoying here. She was not nearly as funny as she was in the first film. Her character was more grating than funny. In the first film, she was hysterical. She was one of the best parts of it. Here, she just annoyed the hell out of me every time she came on screen. If she's been with Jane this long, don't you think she'd have a brain by now? That really annoyed me. I liked Ian, though. I liked the play between her and Ian, and when Ian came on as her intern. That's funny. And they all have a great chemistry together. Natalie Portman, Stellan Skarsgård, Jonathan Taylor, I think I said his name was, and Kat Dennings. They're really good together. And Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth are great together. They have some really good scenes together. But the best chemistry in the entire film is the chemistry between Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston as Loki is the star of this film. He outright steals every scene he's in from everybody he's with because he is so good at this character. I have become a big Tom Hiddleston fan because of this film, because of his work in Thor and the Avengers. I've looked at other stuff he's done, and he is really one of the best actors on the planet right now. And he's got a huge following online.
Yeah.
And I
mostly
really,
made up of women.
Yeah. I really can't wait to see him in other things, but I love him as Loki. He is the ultimate low-key badass. And there are some things that will surprise you. The one cameo was hysterical. The whole audience was in hysterics. And it was great. They also, one thing I will say, as we tried to warn you, there are not just one, but two post-credit sequences.
Yes,
one during the credits, one after the credits.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
you definitely want to stay and see them, because they help connect. The first one connects to Guardians of the Galaxy, and the second one probably to the next Avengers film.
Possibly.
Sort of.
And also the second one is also just funny.
Funny, yeah. Walkies! Anyway.
No, bad Fluffy. Bad Fluffy.
I really, I did enjoy it. It was fun, but I thought it was a little too dark in places, and the intercut stuff between Asgard and London was done at the wholly inappropriate times and just got under my skin.
Okay.
But other than that, I did enjoy it, and I love the score. The score was great. Way better than the first film, which I thought was fantastic.
Okay.
So what do you think? What's
I
your score?
gave it an A-.
Oh, what a surprise.
If you're a
That's
super...
strictly for Chris Hemsworth's bare chest.
It is not strictly for Chris Hemsworth Barrett's chest. It would have got an A if it had been full frontal. But anyway.
Would have gotten an A+ if they'd been able to work Tom Hiddleston into it, too. Yeah.
Anyway. Sorry. I went off to my happy place for a minute. I'm fine now. I'm back.
And what did I tell you before we went?
Your hands will not go anywhere near your crotch at all during this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He knows me so well. I behaved.
Yeah, you did.
What about you?
I like it enough to recommend it if you're a Thor fan and if you like the Avengers stuff. It's fun. Not as fun as the first one. The first one has a lot of great humor that this one was missing. This was like Star Trek The Motionless Picture. There's no classic Avengers humor in this outside of a few places, and it needed it where there was no humor where it really needed it, and that always is kind of detrimental. I think that the humorous elements of the Avengers and the earlier films make it work better.
Okay.
I gave it a B. I think you guys should definitely see it. It's a lot of fun. And it'll be around for a while, as I think you guys know. Okay, so what do we... why do the fans seem to think this is the worst of the films?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it moves the story along really well. I do, now that I kind of look back at it, because I think I remember saying that at the time, that I was a little bit like, what? When we got to the end of it, but I don't know.
Well, the whole thing with the Aether, A-E-T-H-E-R, however they're spelling it, is kind of goofy anyway. I thought they were setting up the whole storyline in the comics where Jane becomes Thor.
Nope.
Which they might still be doing at some point, because Natalie Portman has been talking to the Marvel people again, because she definitely doesn't think that Jane's story is over, even though she did not have a good time on this. And now that there have been different producers and directors and stuff in there, now she might be talking to coming back.
That might be, and which would be nice.
It would be. I'd like to see them complete this, especially after all the bashing that they did on the character in Ragnarok and again also in Infinity War.
Well, they didn't really bash on Jane.
She dumped me. Now I dumped her. It's kind of a mutual dumping. It was kind of nasty.
Well,
but and I don't know how she.
No, I want them to get back together.
Oh, God.
I
turn off your ship machine. Honestly.
No, I'm not going to. So there, yeah.
Tomorrow, when we come back for episode 9 of our miniseries, we are going to bring you the movie that Kim awarded her Best Picture of 2014 to. And it is by far, I honestly believe, until Black Panther came out, it was my favorite Marvel film. And there's a reason for that. It's just really good.
It is.
Tomorrow we will discuss Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Until then, we hope you've been enjoying this wonderful countdown we're doing, and we hope that you will spread the word about it to your friends, let people know it's here, and let everybody know that you can be a part of Subject Cinema and everything we do by becoming a Patreon patron, by going to patreon.com/PNRNetworks. And if you do that, you get all kinds of extra perks and 3 additional patron-only podcasts, including Kim's wonderful Kaiju Corner. And the other 2 we haven't started yet. We're still trying to get off the ground. A new version of Micro Focus and Freeze Frame. So please do that. And please continue to listen to the miniseries. We will see you tomorrow with Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Until then, for the Subject Cinema Avengers Endgame MCU Countdown. And Lord, that's a mouthful. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
We will see you tomorrow.
Winter is coming.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.